They built cities larger than medieval London. And then, they vanished. No warning, no explanation, leaving behind only one thing. Introduction. Imagine waking up one day, walking outside, and finding your entire city completely empty. The streets are clean. The buildings are still standing. The tools are right where they were left. But there's no one. Not a single human being. As if an entire civilization had simply evaporated from the face of the earth in a single night. Sounds like science fiction, right? But this actually happened. Right in the heart of what we now call the United States of America. Long before any European ever set foot on this continent, there was a civilization so advanced, so complex, and so remarkable that modern historians still debate how it managed to grow so large, and why it disappeared so completely. Its name, Cahokia, and the trace it left behind is something you probably never heard about in school, but it's going to change the way you see this land forever. Part 1. What was Cahokia? Let's start with the basics. What exactly was Cahokia? Cahokia was a city. A real city, with urban planning, social hierarchy, organized religion, trade networks, monumental architecture, and a population estimated at up to 20,000 people at its peak, around the year 1100 AD. To put that into perspective, in 1100, the city of London had roughly 15,000 inhabitants. Cahokia was bigger than the capital of medieval England, and it sat right in the middle of North America. More specifically, it stood where the city of Collinsville, Illinois is today, just a few miles east of St. Louis, Missouri. It occupied a fertile stretch of land along the Mississippi River, in the heart of a region geographers call the American Bottom, a rich floodplain packed with natural resources. The people of Cahokia were called the Mississippians. They were part of a culture that spread across much of what is now the eastern United States, with influence stretching into present-day Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, Ohio, Arkansas, and well beyond. But Cahokia was the center, the capital, the beating heart of it all. Part 2. The mountains men built. Now here's the part that's going to blow your mind. The Mississippians didn't build stone pyramids like the Egyptians or the Maya. They built with earth. But not just dirt thrown together carelessly. This was compacted, shaped, and engineered soil, stacked into massive structures called mounds. Cahokia had over 120 of them. Some were small, used for burials or to mark boundaries. Others were medium-sized, serving as foundations for leaders' homes or religious temples. But one of them was unlike anything else. One of them was so massive it got its own name, Monk's Mound. Monk's Mound stands about 100 feet tall, roughly the height of a 10-story building. Its base covers 14 acres, making it the largest pre-Columbian structure north of Mexico. To build it, the Mississippians moved over 1 billion cubic feet of earth. By hand. No machinery, no wheels, no pack animals, just human beings carrying baskets of dirt on their backs, climbing up and walking down for decades, maybe centuries, to raise that artificial mountain in the middle of the American plain. At the top of Monk's Mound stood a large wooden building, most likely the palace or temple of the city's supreme ruler, a figure archaeologists simply call the Great Sun. He was a kind of god-king, a person who held both political and religious power at the same time. The city surrounding Monk's Mound was laid out on a grid, with public plazas, residences sorted by social class, markets, and religious structures. A wooden stockade separated the ceremonial center from the rest of the city. Massive wooden posts were arranged in circles, structures archaeologists call woodhenge, likely used as solar calendars to track the seasons. In other words, Cahokia was a metropolis, a pre-Columbian, indigenous, North American metropolis. Part 3. Life in Cahokia. But what was it actually like to live in Cahokia? The Mississippians were exceptional farmers. Their main crop was corn, maize, and it was the foundation of their entire civilization. Corn fed the population, fueled trade, and freed people from spending every waking hour hunting and gathering. That agricultural surplus created specialization. There were craftspeople, merchants, priests, soldiers, and rulers. Trade in Cahokia was remarkable. Archaeologists have found shells from the Gulf of Mexico, copper from the Great Lakes, mica from the Appalachian Mountains, and obsidian from the Rocky Mountains, all at sites around Cahokia. That means this city sat at the center of a trade network stretching thousands of miles. Mississippian art was sophisticated and loaded with symbolism. They made finely decorated pottery, stone and clay sculptures, and copper ornaments crafted with a level of skill that still impresses researchers today. Many of these objects depicted mythological figures: birdmen, feathered serpents, warriors frozen in ritual poses. Religion touched everything. The Mississippians believed the cosmos was divided into 3 layers: the upper world, the middle world where humans lived, and the lower world. The great sun was the bridge between them, an intermediary between gods and mortals. And like every civilization built around concentrated power, there was a darker side. Part 4: The Dark Side. Archaeologists found evidence of human sacrifice at Cahokia. One specific site, Mound 72, revealed something deeply unsettling: the body of a young man laid out on a bed made from over 20,000 shell beads, surrounded by piles of human remains. They were young women, buried in layers, apparently sacrificed in funeral rituals to accompany a powerful leader into the afterlife. This kind of practice wasn't unusual in highly centralized civilizations. The Egyptians did it. The Sumerians did it. The Aztecs would do it centuries later. Cahokia was no different. There was also evidence of extreme social inequality. While the great sun and the elite lived at the city's center in large, well-supplied homes, ordinary people lived in smaller dwellings on the outskirts. The gap in access to food, status objects, and protection was enormous. But none of this makes Cahokia less impressive, makes it more human, more real. A civilization with all the contradictions that civilizations carry: greatness and cruelty, innovation and violence, beauty and power. Part 5: The Mystery of the Disappearance. And then, around the year 1350, Cahokia simply stopped. Not all at once, of course. It was a gradual process. But within just a few generations, the city that once held 20,000 people went empty. Temples were abandoned. Markets went quiet. Streets filled with weeds. Why? That's the big question archaeologists, historians, and scientists are still arguing over. The first theory is environmental, climate. Tree ring studies show the region went through severe droughts in the 1200s. Without enough rain, the corn harvests would fail. Without corn, the population couldn't sustain itself. Famine could have triggered mass migration, conflict, and the collapse of social order. The second theory is political. The breakdown of central authority. Highly centralized civilizations are fragile when the leader at the top loses legitimacy, or dies without a strong successor. If the great sun lost his grip on power, the entire social structure built around him could have crumbled fast. The third theory is ecological. Deforestation and environmental degradation. Building a city of 20,000 people using wood as your primary construction material and fuel source means clear-cutting a massive area around you. Sediment studies show the region was heavily deforested during Cahokia's peak, which could have caused erosion, flooding, and a sharp decline in soil fertility. The fourth theory is social. Internal violence and conflict. The wooden stockade around Cahokia Ceremonial Center was built and rebuilt multiple times, suggesting repeated periods of fear and instability. There may have been uprisings, civil war, or raids from neighboring groups that accelerated the collapse. And the fifth theory, the most thought-provoking, is that all of the above are true at the same time. That Cahokia fell victim to a systemic collapse, where multiple pressures combined and fed off each other in a destructive spiral the civilization simply couldn't escape. What we know for certain is this. When the first European explorers reached this area in the 1500s and 1600s, there was no oral memory of Cahokia among the local tribes. The civilization had vanished so completely that not even the stories survived. It was as if it had never existed. Part 6: The Trace That Remained. But let's come back to the title. The civilization that left no trace, except this. What's the this? The mounds. Those mountains of earth that the Mississippians built with their own hands survived in a way nothing else they created did. The wood rotted. The pottery broke. The fabric dissolved. But the compacted earth, carried in baskets on the backs of thousands of people over centuries, is still there. Monk's Mound is still standing. Today it's part of the Cahokia Mounds State Historic Site, declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1982. You can climb the stairs archaeologists built to the top, and from there watch the Mississippi Plain stretch out in every direction. And it's impossible not to feel something in that moment. Impossible not to think about all the people who carried that dirt. All the lives lived at the foot of that mound. All the stories that will never be told because there was no writing, no stone, nothing permanent, nothing except the earth itself. But the mounds at Cahokia aren't the only ones. Estimates suggest there were over 100,000 of these structures scattered across the continent before Europeans arrived. Most have been destroyed by farms, by cities, by roads. But thousands remain, silent and invisible to anyone who doesn't know what they're looking at. Mountains that men made, forgotten by time, waiting to be seen. Part 7. Why you never heard about this. And here's the most important part of this whole video. Why is Cahokia so unknown? Why does a city that was bigger than medieval London, one that built structures comparable to the Egyptian pyramids in sheer human effort, that sustained a trade network stretching thousands of miles, why doesn't this civilization show up in textbooks, in popular documentaries, in the story we tell about North American history? The answer has several layers. The first layer is the absence of writing. The Mississippians left no texts. Without texts, there's no narrative. And without narrative, history dissolves into silence. We easily recognize the Maya because they had a writing system. We know the Aztecs because Europeans arrived while their civilization was still at its height. The Mississippians didn't get that luck. They were already gone before Europeans came through in force. The second layer is political. For centuries, the dominant narrative about pre-Columbian America painted indigenous peoples of North America as simple nomads, hunters and gatherers with no complex social organization. That framing served a purpose. It justified colonization. If the land was empty or occupied by people without civilization, there was a moral excuse to take it. Acknowledging Cahokia, acknowledging the mounds, acknowledging the sophistication of the Mississippians, means confronting that story. The third layer is archaeological. The serious study of Cahokia is relatively recent. Major excavations only began in the second half of the 20th century. And even after decades of intense research, there are far more questions than answers. And the fourth layer is the most straightforward. Nobody's been telling this story properly to a wide audience. Till now. Part 8. What Cahokia teaches us about ourselves. Let's step back and think about what Cahokia's story actually means. First, it teaches us that complex civilizations don't need writing, metal, or stone to exist. The Mississippians built something extraordinary using resources most people would call primitive. That forces us to rethink what we even mean by civilized. Second, it teaches us about the fragility of civilizations. Cahokia thrived for centuries and then collapsed. It wasn't overrun by invaders with better weapons. It wasn't wiped out by a volcano or an asteroid. By all indications, it was brought down by a combination of problems it either created or failed to manage. Environmental destruction, political instability, overdependence on a single agricultural system. Sound familiar? Third, it teaches us about memory and forgetting. An entire civilization was erased from human memory in less than 3 centuries. Not because anyone decided to erase it, but simply because the conditions to preserve that memory didn't exist. That's a warning. Civilizations that don't leave durable traces can be forgotten far more easily than we imagine. And fourth, it teaches us about the hidden depth of American history. The story we know about this country almost always starts in 1492, with Columbus, or 1620, with the Pilgrims at Plymouth Rock. But human history on this continent goes back over 15,000 years. Cahokia is just one chapter of a story far longer and far richer than we were ever taught. Part 9. The Other Cahokias. And Cahokia wasn't alone. While the Mississippians were building their metropolis along the Mississippi River, other complex civilizations were thriving in other parts of what is now the United States. In the American Southwest, the ancestors of the Pueblo people, known to archaeologists as the ancestral Puebloans, were carving cities into cliffs and constructing massive communal structures. Chaco Canyon in New Mexico was a regional hub that drew people from hundreds of miles away. The Great House at Chaco, built around the year 1000, had over 600 rooms and rose 4 stories high. It was the largest building on the North American continent for many centuries. In the Pacific Northwest, cultures built around salmon fishing developed complex social systems with class hierarchies, elaborate ceremonies, and monumental art in the form of totem poles. In the Northeast, the Iroquois Confederacy, also known as the Haudenosaunee, developed a sophisticated political system that some historians argue directly influenced the Founding Fathers when they were designing the U.S. Constitution. An indigenous democracy helping shape modern democracy. Pre-Columbian America was a mosaic of cultures, languages, political systems, and technological achievements that popular history keeps getting wrong. Cahokia is just the most dramatic, the most visible, and, paradoxically, the most forgotten. Part 10, The Living Trace. But there's one more important thing to say. The Mississippians didn't completely disappear. When Cahokia was abandoned, its people didn't just vanish. They scattered. Some groups moved east, others north, others south. Some likely merged with neighboring peoples. Traditions, rituals, and stories kept shifting, blending, adapting. Many of the indigenous peoples that Europeans encountered in the eastern United States in the 1500s and 1600s were, in some way, heirs to the Mississippian tradition. The Natchez, who lived along the lower Mississippi when the French arrived in the late 1600s, kept many Mississippian cultural features alive, including the figure of the Great Sun as supreme ruler and the continued building of mounds. The Choctaw, the Chickasaw, the Muskogee Creek, the Cherokee, all of these nations have cultural ties to the tradition that produced Cahokia. In other words, the Mississippians didn't disappear. They transformed. And their descendants are still here. The trace isn't just in the earth. The trace is in the people. Part 11, Visiting Cahokia Today. If you ever get the chance, go to Cahokia. The Cahokia Mounds State Historic Site is in Collinsville, Illinois, about 20 minutes by car from downtown St. Louis. Admission is free, though donations are welcome. There's a visitor center with permanent exhibits explaining the site's history, excavated artifacts on display, and reconstructions of what the city looked like at its height. But the most powerful thing is simply being there. Monk's Mound is right in front of you when you walk in. It's bigger than it looks in photos. And as you start climbing the wooden steps that lead to the top, you begin to feel the weight of what you're standing on. At the top, on a clear day, you can see the horizon in every direction. The Mississippi Plain stretches out endlessly. The St. Louis Arch glints in the distance. The wind hits hard, and if you stop and close your eyes for a moment, you can try to picture what this place looked like 900 years ago. Wooden temples at the summit. Smoke rising from cooking fires in the city below. The sounds of 20,000 people living their lives. Kids running, merchants haggling, priests chanting. A living city, a living civilization that left only the earth to remember it. Conclusion: what the earth holds. Let's come back to the title. The civilization that left no trace except this, except the earth. The earth they moved with their hands. The earth they packed down layer by layer, basket by basket, generation by generation. The earth that survived time, colonization, forgetting, and modernity. Monk's Mound is still there. 900 years later, it's still there. And maybe that's Cahokia's deepest lesson. That the simplest things are sometimes the most lasting. That earth, the most common, cheapest, most overlooked material there is, can hold the memory of an entire civilization for centuries. That forgetting isn't permanent. That silence can be broken. That a city erased from human memory for 400 years can come back to life the moment someone decides to dig into the ground, look at the mounds that everyone ignored, and ask, who built this? Why? How did they live? Cahokia's story is all of our stories, in one way or another. It's the story of building something massive with limited resources. It's the story of rising and falling. It's the story of being forgotten and being rediscovered. And above all, It's the story that the past is never truly lost. It's just waiting for someone to look down at the ground, notice the mound that everyone walked past, and ask, "What's buried here?"